Alright guys, welcome back. This is the Ruby tutorial number 11 now. This is part 2, and what we are building tonight is a Final Fantasy Tactics menu system. So this is just going to be the main portion of it. We'll get to the remaining parts in the upcoming weeks. And again, as I said during our first part, that what I'd like you to do is find me a script that is RPG Maker VX or vice versa, RPG Maker XP, that we can convert to the opposing system so that you can have that script in that system. So a script that is XP compatible that is not VX, so that I can show you how to make it compatible, or vice versa, one that is XP that you would like to see in XP. So that way we can go through converting one or both ways if we need. So we'll get to that. In the meantime, we're going to continue building our Final Fantasy Tactics menu. In the meantime, we have been building a menu system. Let me just comment out this one line and we'll just test and show you what we've got thus far. What we've got is the menu to open up a Final Fantasy Tactics style background, and that is based upon the setting up here at the top. And yeah, so that's basically what we got going on, and we're going to go on through the create characters here to draw the characters onto that, and then we'll keep on moving from there. Okay, so one thing I just barely noticed is that when we rendered that, I had changed the create menu background method, which seems to be working, but then it is coming back out and it is not setting our new background here. So we can take about this two different ways. I'm betting that it is getting to here, but just because I'm not sure, we're going to just say getting to here, because this is the method that actually then calls the alternate methods for generating that. So let's just double check that, and it's not executing that code. So what that tells us is that the create menu background is not being called appropriately. I misspelt it. Just try that again. And there you have it. Okay, so let's get into the remaining of creating the characters. So we've already gone through and created a new class called menu character, which is going to take the game character. It's going to take whatever you pass it. We're going to pass it an actor, and it's going to fetch the character name and the character index from them and assign it to this class, so that then we can place it and move it around on the screen, and it will be animated or whatever else we need. So what we need to do, if we want them to walk, the walk technique or whatever, walk in place, so that they're just standing there going like this. I'm not personally a big fan of that inside of the menu, but this does give us the option of playing with that. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So number one, this is part of game character, and game character is the one who actually controls whether or not they sit there and jog in place. So that is used from the anim equals true, or anim count. Let's see, step anime, I believe it is. Okay, so it is by default equal to false. So if you want them to walk in place, then you need to copy that down here into our new initialize method and just set it equals to true. That's it. So we're going to leave it to true just so you can see it as we get through it. Okay, so what we need to do now is go up and create our characters. So we're going to copy our class name here, and up here we said create characters. So let's drop down below our create background stuff and say def create characters. Okay, now inside of here we're going to create a characters, and that's going to be an array, and then we're going to create sprites. Okay, and that's also going to be an array. just because these are going to need to be updated in order to make sure that the walking animation is going, as well as that the sprite will move from here over to here. So that's basically what we need there. So we've got our characters and our sprites. So now we need to say for, and we'll just say for character, you know what, let's do for I in game party dot members dot size, and that needs to be 0 dot dot dot. Now the dot 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 means from here to the end, but not including the end. If you only do 2 dots, then it says from here to the end and everything in between. So the dot 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 just says exclude the last one, and the dot dot says include everything including the last one. In our case, because the size is, or the member index is actually 1 less than the total size, we're going to exclude the last, so we're going to use dot dot dot. You can look up a little bit more about ranges inside of the help file if you have any questions on that. Okay, so we're going to say for I is just going to represent our index number for the character. So we're going to say character equals game party dot members, and we're going to give it the I parameter so that then it can return that particular character for us. So now we're going to say characters dot, and we're going to give it a push, so we could use dot push and then we can create our method, or we can use double arrows. I like the double arrows just because it's easier, it's a little bit easier to read, just it's kind of it's an append, throw it onto that. So we're going to say here's now where we're going to put our menu character, and we're going to say dot new, and then we're going to give it the character, just like that. Okay, so now that we've got our character, now we need to render a sprite for them, and it was sprites. So we're going to do the same thing, push, and then we're going to say sprite character, which is the visual representation of the character, dot new, and let's just go verify what arguments we need to pass it, but I think all we need to do is just pass it the character, of the viewport and the character. Okay, so we have not yet defined a viewport. So what we're going to do is we're going to define a viewport, and so we're going to come back up here and we're going to say create viewports. Okay, so what are the viewports? The viewports are going to hold all of our different menus for us. Because we're going to make this kind of like a one scene menu, so we could separate each part out, but it doesn't have quite the feel of a one scene menu. One scene menus are a little bit harder to put together, but it's okay because it's a learning thing for you guys. So we're going to do it. Okay, so we're going to say create viewports. We're going to put that just above our create characters. We're going to create our viewport. Let's say menu viewport, or better yet, let's give it characters viewport, character car viewport, so we don't get too long of names. And we're going to say viewport.new, and we're going to give it the size of the screen. That's 544 by 416. Okay, so next we're going to create our main menu viewport, and we're just going to call it view. We're going to say viewport 544 by 416, and then we'll create the other ones as we need them. So we'll just create those two for now, and we'll come back and create the others later. Now the reason why we do this is that we can say, alright, well, the main menu view or viewport, and we're going to increase its Z by 1. Now what does that do? That says now my characters are in the back and all of this menuing is in front of them no matter what. So just makes life a little bit easier in that respect. So that's the way we're going to do that. So we're going to say car viewport, and we're going to bring that on down here, and and we're going to put it right there and include the character. So we're going to say, you know what, let's make this a variable so that then we can actually use it. So we say car equals, you know what, let's do it this way, car equals, and we'll take that and we'll tag that in right there and remove that. So now car has a new meaning, and we're going to put it right there. Okay, and we'll put it right there as well. So now it's going to push it into that, and then it's going to make an additional, or it's going to take that and push it into this other array. But because we pushed it into this one, it knows it's going to be associated with the same instance because it is the same variation of it. So it's not going to create a copy of it or anything, it's just going to put it in there. Okay, so now that we've got that, we are, you know what, let's just make sure we do this right. It should work this way, but I'm not sure now that I think about it. So we're just going to do it this way because the index should match because we're just pushing them in the same order. So we'll do it that way. Okay, so now we've got the character, we pushed it in, we've created the sprite. Now we need to set its position. Okay, so we need to set or calculate where it needs to be on the screen. So this, we need to determine how many characters we need on the screen and how many rows or whatever else that we're going to use. So the number of rows we're just going to leave open so that we could possibly have scrolling in here. The XY, what we'll do is we'll just set the OX or OY part of the viewport later on to just kind of scroll it so that the contents therein can push around if we exceed the bottom of the screen. So what we need to determine is our width. So we say, so if we open up our calculator here, we've got 544 pixels that we can display them. Let's say we want to put 5 on there. So we're going to divide this by 6. Now the reason I do that is because we're going to take one of those and we're going to divide it in half so that we are indented in on the same amount on both sides and that we have 5 in the middle. So we're going to be approximately 90 pixels apart from each other. So we can say, we're going to say x is equal to, and we're going to take 90 times by I, and then we're going to add 45 to that. Now the reason we're adding 45 is because 45 is half of 90, and so on. Okay, but this has to be modded by 90. No, it's not 90, because 90, if you did 90, then it would just always be on the next row. So what we need to do is we need to say 5 times by 90 is 300 and... Wow, I'm drawing a blank. I'm slow tonight, sorry guys. We're going to take 90 times by 5, 450. So we're going to mod that by 450, thereby pushing it, so if it gets to 450, it's going to push it down to the next one. Okay, so that is our first part. So we're going to take that, and so that's our x, and then our y is going to be equal to, and we're going to say 90 divided by, I'm sorry, 90 times by I divided by 450. So divide by is going to say 0, 1, 2, etc. as you go on down through the different rows. And then we're going to auto increment that again by 45 to push them down from the very top so their heads aren't rubbing at the top of the screen. So once we have that, we're going to say sprites and I, because again we're using that same index number, and then we're going to say dot place x and y. So it's going to set them in that location. Okay? And then next we're going to say update characters and update sprites. Okay, and now we just need to create those methods, update characters and def update sprites. update characters is going to say for character in at characters character.update, and then under this one we're going to say for sprite in sprites sprite.update. Okay, so we have all of the information in here that we need in order to generate our characters onto the screen. So let's just go double check how that worked out, whether or not I did my math right, and we can figure out where we're going to go from there. So we're just going to go ahead and talk to this girl to get the extra characters, and wrong number of arguments, 4 for 2. So I passed it 2, but it wanted 4. And it wanted that for the, viewport. You need X, Y, width, and height. Forgot about that. So we're just going to add a 0, 0 saying the very top left hand, and then the width and height saying over and down to the the full length of the screen. One more time. Talk to our lady here. Open that up. Wrong number of arguments, 1. We're passing at 1, but it only needs 0. So what is it that it needs? Oh, it didn't need any, but because we added that method, we have to put because we wanted an additional input, but we didn't want it to pass on up to the upper one. What we have to do is put super and then just the parentheses to say don't pass anything. Okay, so let's just try that one more. Hold on a second here. Talk to her, open it up, and now we're getting place for sprite character. Sprite character. That was my bad. Instead of doing sprite character, we need to do it to the character. It is the character item, not the sprite, because we added it to game character, not sprite character. Okay, one more. Hopefully this one will be the last one. And place for array. Why is it an array? Oh, that's why, is because I didn't include the I, because otherwise it's just a list of characters. Okay, one more. Alright, my daughter's here, so just a second. And there you have it. You have each of the characters displaying, but it looks like we've got a couple of them displaying in the same location. So it's that means it's taking these values and not pushing them down to the next one. And this character here probably needs to be 540 rather than 450. Okay, so we've got them displaying, but they're still not down onto the next line. Let's see, why? And also, if you wanted to, you can comment out the step anime and then they'll stop walking on the screen like that. Okay, so let's see here. It is our Y placement where we're screwing up, so we need to figure out what it is about that. And let's see, I times by 90, and so I is going to be for the, so let's figure this out here. If we take 90 and we're going to take the 5th party member, or we're going to take the 6th party member, we're going to times that by 90, it's going to equal 540, we're going to divide by that, it should equal 1. Oh, that's what it is. So we need to take that value and we need to multiply that by our row height. So 1 is the row that they're on, so now we have to push them down to the next row. So we need to determine how far that is. I'm going to say, we'll just throw in another 90, so it pushes them down 90. Or if you want to keep it consistent, you can go 45 or whatever. We'll keep the spacing the same. So it'll be the same distance width-wise as well as height-wise for the characters to be separated. And there you have it. So as you can see though, we've got 6 characters because that's what we divided by on our first row, and down here on the second one. If you want to change that, you can go in and just change this math right here in order to determine where they need to go. The next things we're going to cover is the cursor placement. We're just going to have it detect, hey, where are you at? And it's going to seek where that is and just put the cursor underneath you wherever your current X and Y is, and then we will be able to make a selection of a character. So that's all I'm going to cover tonight. We'll come back probably tomorrow night. I don't know, it depends on my time. So we'll play with this and we'll continue building our menu system. But in the meantime, hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And again, if you have any requests or anything like that, please leave them below, and I'll try to answer those as soon as I can. And as always, just if you have any questions regarding any of the material we've covered, just go ahead and leave me a comment below and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Okay guys, well that's all for tonight, so we will see you later.